Hi there and welcome back if you're a regular viewer of this channel, or a warm welcome to you if this is the first video that you're watching on my channel. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell, I think it is, if you want to know when I next put out a video. It's usually on a Sunday afternoon, early evening UK time. So today we're going to explore perfectionism, and we're going to be looking at the question, is perfectionism a good thing or a bad thing? For some entrepreneurs it's a badge of honour, for others it's a real burden that is holding them back, stopping them getting to that next level in their business or in their personal life. You may already realise that there's no clear-cut black or white answer to the question, is perfectionism a good thing or a bad thing? So let's take a deeper dive to see what it means for you and to look at ways that you can address it if it is a problem for you, if it is something that is holding you back. Let's start off with a definition of perfectionism. There are many definitions around, and of course it is it's a spectrum, so there is no one perfect definition of perfectionism, if you'll excuse the pun. So this is quite a simple one, and I like to keep things simple. The need to be or appear to be perfect, or even to believe that it's possible to achieve perfection. This can be in any area of our life. It might just be in one area, or it could be right across the board. And it may seem harmless enough, but research has shown there are many links between people who have perfectionist traits and some or all of the following. And this isn't a complete list, but just to give you an idea of the potential dangers of high levels of perfectionism. There are links between perfectionism and higher levels of anxiety and depression. People who are perfectionists tend to experience more guilt and shame. They may have lower levels of motivation and tend to procrastinate more. They demonstrate more hostility or anger towards others. They may experience an inability to feel proud of their accomplishments. They may make poor lifestyle choices, including diet, exercise, and self-care. They may experience levels of stress which negatively impact on their mental and their physical health, and general dysregulation, a difficulty in regulating their emotions and behaviours. They also experience lower overall levels of life satisfaction. So, as I said before, there are many perfectionist traits, and this is just some of the traits that we find, but they're traits that I have noticed particularly prevalent in my entrepreneur clients. So somebody who is a perfectionist may be highly ambitious and driven. They may have an extreme fear of failure. They have high standards and expectations of either themselves or others, or both. It may be difficult for a perfectionist to delegate and to trust somebody else to do the work to the standard that they deem appropriate. There is a constant pressure to live up to high expectations, which are either internal or external. An extreme attention to detail and rigid routines may be found in the life of a perfectionist, and that goes along with the high needs for organisation and structure. And when that rigidity and the structure isn't there, it can feel extremely uncomfortable and trigger all sorts of behaviours in a perfectionist. A perfectionist often views any mistake as a failure or incompetence, and it really is black or white. Something is good, is perfect or as near to perfect as they can get it, or it's a complete and utter failure. A perfectionist may spend excessive time, effort or energy trying to improve on something, a system, a product, or to reduce mistakes that they perceive real or in their own perception only. They may be always over prepared, always have a plan, everything down to the last detail, and again alongside of that needing precise rules, expectations and instructions. There is often a hypersensitivity to criticism and negative feedback. It really is a problem for a perfectionist to be told or to believe that somebody is critical or judging something that they've done or are planning to do. And again, the sort of running theme through all of these elements, all these traits, is a rigid black or white thinking approach. So perfectionism is a cluster of traits. You may recognise yourself in some, one or two, or a lot of the traits that were on the previous slide. But it's important to remember that these traits are symptoms. They themselves are not the problem, and they're certainly not the root cause of a problem. So perfectionism is a result of things that happened in our past, and the need to attempt to be perfect was reinforced during past experiences, which may have been throughout the whole of our life up until now. They may have been particularly prevalent in our childhood. But if we drill down even further, we will come to the initial sensitizing event or the initial sensitizing events, which are things that happened in our childhood, adversity, it may be trauma. It is the original triggering events that set us on the path to try to be perfect for whatever reason, and we'll look at that a little more on the next slide. So if we are to take one of the traits that may relate to you, but if it's not a trait that is an issue for you, then you can do this exercise with your focus on one of the other traits. So as we said, somebody describing themselves as a perfectionist may be highly driven, often is highly driven when we're talking about entrepreneurs, and possess an extreme fear of failure. Now, in and of itself, that's not a problem. Quite often it's necessary to succeed in the business world. You need to have that drive, and you need to have high standards for yourself and to hold yourself accountable. All of these traits in and of themselves are not negative, but if one or more of them are negatively impacting on your quality of life in your business or in your personal life, or impacting the quality of life of people maybe that you employ or people in your family, then it is a problem. That's when perfectionism turns negative and we see the darker side. So if we drill down then from this trait of being highly driven, an extreme fear of failure, high standards, really going for it, then we will find that there has been a history of unfavourable comparisons to others. This may be a combination of your own comparisons, you looking around at things that other people are doing or things that other people have, but it may also be remembering times when people compared you or your achievements to traits or achievements of other people, but in an unfavourable way. It may have been in the family home, it may have been parents or carers or teachers, really making you feel that you are not good enough. What you're doing is not good enough. And if we drill down even further, we will find specific events that happened very early on in life. And this could be a parent who is either physically absent or absent because of their own mental health issues or because of addiction problems. Again, that could be intentional or non-intentional. Sometimes a parent has to go away for extended periods. Sometimes a parent may have to go into hospital for a long time, but it may leave a gap. So either you are being ignored or feeling ignored and there's no acknowledgement of your achievements, or there is a mocking of what you have achieved and this comparison, being criticised. You're not trying hard enough. Your brother or your sister or your cousin or the neighbour is getting better grades. Why can't you? And this overall feeling that as a young child you may have had, that you were just not good enough. So we need to really drill down from the symptom, which is at the top, if this is a problem, and get right down to those events and those memories of when that seed of not being good enough and of really needing to pull out all the stops and just devote yourself to proving that you are good enough in order to work out what is necessary to work on, either yourself or in therapy. So once we've got down to the nitty-gritty, to those initial events, and you may remember specific things that were said to you, you may remember specific moments where you were when those things were said, what happened, how you felt, etc. So either in your own self-development work or in conjunction with a therapist, you can work through those events, those memories, in order to use inner child work is something that I use a lot in these instances, in order to reinstate the self-esteem and the feeling that a child is good enough, because of course all children are good enough. And we are born with this healthy self-esteem completely intact, and it is what happens to us, especially in those early years, that kind of knocks the stuffing out of this and makes us feel not good enough, which then we go through our life noticing unfavourable comparisons to others that will come from within us. We will repeat what has been said to us in our own mind, to have very negative self-talk, but also that negative criticism and the lack of acknowledgement of our achievements may continue to come from others. Maybe still within the family, but it can also be our peers, people in our class. And this then leads through to this absolute need to be highly driven, no matter what the expense. So if you would like to do some work on yourself, then this is the approach that I suggest. I suggest that you write down all the traits that you feel are getting in the way of your progress or of your healthy relationships. And then just focus on one at a time and do that drilling down that I did with the highly driven trait a few moments ago. So drill down and find those past experiences, remembering things that you have said to yourself, that have been said by others, and then go even deeper and try and remember certain phrases that were said to you and certain events or situations. But you have to remember, if you do feel very triggered when you are remembering these sorts of events and experiences, then it's important for you to do this in conjunction with a professional therapist. If you feel that this isn't a problem, then just follow this process, looking at the trait, the past experiences, and those initial sensitizing events. Keep a track of that and address those initial events and remind your inner child. You could get a photograph of yourself when you were younger and talk to your younger self in that way, or just picture yourself as a child and have those conversations in your mind. You could also write letters to your younger self and reinstate that self-esteem or whatever is necessary in order to impact the traits that are tripping you up at the moment. I hope that makes sense to you, and if you do use this strategy, I'd love to hear how you get on. So the most important thing to remember is that if something isn't a problem, if it isn't negatively impacting on your quality of life, on your business, or on the quality of life of people around you, then that's fine. Just because somebody else may describe a trait as negative doesn't mean that it actually is. If, however, there is a negative impact of a trait or some traits that you have, then it's time to work on them. I hope you've enjoyed this video and have found the content useful. If you have any questions, please use the comments feature below and fire away with anything you want to ask. If you have any ideas of topics that would be helpful to you as an entrepreneur moving forward, then you're very welcome to pop those suggestions in the comments below as well. You'll find full contact details for me in the description, and I will see you next time. Bye for now.